Hotep, to my Kemetic Yoga family. My name is Yasir Hotep. I am the leader of the global Kemetic Yoga movement, and I am here with another of our series of sessions called Introduction to Kemetic Yoga. And it seems like for the last few mornings where we start this session at 8 a.m. Central Time, I have some insight and some messages that I'm sort of, you know, moved to share with you. And so for this morning, my message is that we need to think about cleansing our bodies and our minds, especially of things like parasites. You know, there are many types of parasites, right? And so, for those who deal in holistic health, we think about parasites as being these little creatures that infest in meat and fish and other items like that. But parasites can also exist in or on vegetables and fruits that are not washed properly. And so those are things that you have to think about. Another thing about parasites is that they can exist in the body for a long, long time. And they actually feed on the body. And they actually decay within the body. And they cause toxic conditions to exist within the body. And so, as such, there's the effect of the parasites are often mistaken as other types of diseases. Okay, and so they cause inflammation. They cause many things to occur within the body. That when you go to the doctor, or a lot of people, they self-diagnose themselves, and they're diagnosing themselves, or the doctor is diagnosing them as having a condition, but the doctors never or rarely investigate whether a condition can be caused by a parasitic infection. Okay, and so it's important that we go through a cleanse. If you do some research, because I don't have all the information that I can share with you at this point in time in these short sessions, but if you do some research, you can find that there are certain types of herbal products you can take that will help to rid your body of parasitic infections, right? And so do your research, find out about parasites, find out some of the different misdiagnoses that are caused by parasites, or different issues or diseases or conditions that are caused by parasites, and then you know, determine for yourself what you need to do. But you can cleanse yourself, and you need to perhaps stop eating certain types of flesh um, foods that people commonly eat that we know are very infected with parasites. So pork would be one of those. People get into arguments with me, and they say, "Oh, parasites can be in vegetables, they can be in fruits, and so on and so forth." But all of that is true. They can be. But one thing about fruits and vegetables, you can wash them, you can clean them. It's not going to be, you're going to find most of the bad stuff on the outside of the fruits and vegetables, even though they can be on the inside too. So you have to, so you do have to pay attention when you buy broccoli, right? And it has those porous little pieces and sections of the broccoli. You have to look down in there, see if you see some worms, see if you see some grubs or different little insects and stuff inside the broccoli. Okay, so you have to be very careful when you eat anything that you're not putting something into your body that can cause you harm. But when you eat something like pork contains the parasite inside of the flesh. It's embedded in the flesh. Certain types of fish, the parasites are embedded in the flesh of the fish, in the flesh of the animals. Okay? And so no matter what you do, even if you cook it thoroughly, you often are not going to even kill all the parasites. And even if you cooked it thoroughly, do you really want to be eating the dead bodies of the parasites? Okay? So you really want to pay attention. You really want to really change your concept and change your perception of what really constitutes food. Okay? Processed foods. When we look at processed foods, we're looking at something that's been taken and put through a chemical process, that's been heated, that's been degraded, and many of the nutrients have been taken away. Okay, so that's why we don't eat processed food. That's why we eat fresh fruits and vegetables in the most raw and fresh state as possible. Even when we cook vegetables, we steam them lightly, we saute them lightly. You know, if you make soups, we make the soup with vegetables in a light way. It's different ways that you can cook stuff, that you can prepare food, where you can either have it raw or you can have it where it's only lightly heated so that you retain a lot of the nutrients. Okay. With meat, you can't just take meat and eat it raw. You can't just take meat or fish. People like to eat sushi. They say, oh, this sushi is good. I eat this. And it is raw fish. And it is put full of parasites. And oftentimes, in addition to the parasites that may be embedded into the fish, the parasites or the bacteria is on the surface. It forms on the surface of this dead, decaying creature, the flesh of this dead, decaying creature. Okay? Shrimps are another thing. People in certain cultures, in many cultures, they love to eat shrimp. And they think shrimp is part of their culture and shrimp is part of their, their religion sometimes even, right? They must eat this shrimp. But they're not paying attention to how the shrimp is being prepared and the intrinsic dangers, the intrinsic disease that is associated with things like shrimp and other shellfish, like lobsters and so on and so forth, right? So I'm not gonna just be here and preach about eating or not eating certain types of foods, but when you practice Kemetic Yoga, part of your raising of your consciousness is understanding the connection between the things that you eat, the things that you consume into your body, and the state of your health, the state of your well-being. And why do you believe that you need to eat an animal in order to keep your own self alive? Do you really need to eat this animal? Do you really need to consume this other animal in the hopes that you're keeping your own self alive? So you're taking something that's dead and you're putting it into your body and you're consuming it because you think that this dead creature is going to keep you alive, you know. And it's not saying that you cannot get protein from a dead animal. It's not saying that you can't get protein from an egg and you get certain nutrients from certain types of animal products and so on and so forth. You know, you have anthropologists and other people who are scholars who say that the reason why human beings evolved in the way that we have and the way and our brain is the way that it is because we invented fire and we started to cook animals and we started to and that had an effect upon our evolutionary path. You know, that's a theory and that is something that can be challenged in many different ways. At what point did the elephant, start to eat meat in order to become an elephant? At what point did a giraffe eat meat in order to become a giraffe? At what point did a hippopotamus eat meat in order to become a hippopotamus, right? In order to evolve into the animal that it is today. So just to simply say that eating animals moves you along a pathway of becoming an advanced creature doesn't make sense. you know, and so on and so forth. Okay. And so also we can have parasites that exist on another level. They don't have to be on a physical level. They can exist on a spiritual level. So you have to be careful about the people who you associate with. You have to be careful about the people who you let come into your home, who you become mates with, you know. You have to be careful about the people who you may decide that you're going to share your physical space with in all different manners, right? So people can absorb your energy. They can pull your energy from you in such a way that causes you to have a lack of energy, to have a lack of life force, because that other person is siphoning off your energy. Okay. And so, how does that work? Okay, for one thing, energy moves from greater concentration to lesser concentration. So if I have a high energy level and I am near another person who has a low energy level, their energy can actually be pulled from me. My energy can be pulled from me to that person because energy is trying to seek a state of equilibrium. Okay. And so when we practice Kemetic Yoga, the thing that we do to help to um, mitigate the transfer of energy from one person to another is that we do what we call tongue connection. Okay. Because when we talk about this energy I'm talking about, it doesn't exist on a physical level. It exists on a non-physical level. And so it involves the non-physical body. So one of the things that we become aware of in our practice of yoga is that we have aspects of ourselves which are both physical and also non-physical. And they are contained together, they combine together and they work together because all of us now are contained in this one package that we call the human being. And so we are a being, we are being, we're not just something that's very concrete. We have a lot of different aspects to the self, things that cannot be seen. Like have you ever seen your thought? Have you ever seen an idea? Okay. So we have things that operate within the mind that are you can never put a physical value on it. Okay. And so when we talk about energy, we're talking about something that's non-physical, but it is connected to the physical. It affects the physical. The better our energy is, the higher the quality of our energy is, the higher the quantity, the amount of energy that we have, the more healthy we are on a physical level. Okay? And we can treat disease through enhancing our energy. That's why things like what we call pranic healing works. That's why even things like Reiki can actually work because energy can be transferred from one point to another point. Okay? And so when we practice yoga, we are actually causing ourselves to be the receiver and the transmitter of energy, vibrational frequency on different levels, okay? But um, it's advisable that when you are in contact with other people, especially if you're somebody who does some type of energy work, if you're somebody who does some type of touching on people, like massage therapy and things like that, if you're somebody who has to counsel people and people come in contact with you, it is important that you learn how to do tongue connection. Okay? So, tongue connection, taking the tip of the tongue and placing it on the roof of the mouth. It helps to keep your energy focused within yourself and it denies energy from being accessed from other people who may be of less, and they may not even know that they are sucking your energy from you. They are siphoning your energy from you because they may just be in this poor state of mind, this poor state of health, this poor state of consciousness. Okay? Even though some people, some beings that's around here, around us, can be consciously trying to siphon your energy. So we do tongue connection because we recognize that there is an energy channel. So we do tongue connection because we recognize that there is an energy channel that tip of your tongue. There's another energy channel that runs through the back of your body. It goes to the top of your head and it ends at the roof of your mouth. So we are connecting those two energies and we are creating a circuit. And when we create that circuit, it makes us bonded. It makes us focused and keeps our energy focused and and it does not allow the energy to be taken away from us. So we do tongue connection when we practice our movements, our postures, our breathing, our meditation. We do tongue connection if we're in a crowd. We do tongue connection all the time. Okay. The only time we don't do tongue connection is if we're talking, eating, or drinking. The rest of the time we're doing tongue connection, okay? And I've known about tongue connection for a long, long time, but in my studies with one of my qigong teachers, Wayne B. Chandler, the importance of tongue connection was emphasized to a much higher level. You know, I give you one example. There was a sister that came to one of my retreats in Jamaica. She was a massage therapist, and when she came to greet me, she was limping. Now she's a very fit, very healthy person. That's how I knew her. But she was limping, and she had a pain in her hip. And she told me that she was doing massage on a person who had a problem with their hip. And when she got finished doing massage with this person, that the injury had transferred from that person into her. Okay, so we're talking about reality. We're talking about what are the best practices that you can employ that's going to help to protect you in whatever that you do. Okay, because you don't want to be touching people and dealing with people. Just like if you work in a hospital and you're working with somebody who's infected, you wear a mask over your face. If you're doing an operation, you're doing surgery, or you're doing many things working with a person in a hospital, you wear a mask over your face. You cover your hands, okay? And so tongue connection is one of the precautionary things that we learn how to do in order to protect ourselves. So this is what we call best practices. So when you are a yoga practitioner, you should be learning the best practices of yoga. And tongue connection is one of those best practices, okay? Yoga is one of those best practices that, not tongue connection is one of the best practices that you are learning to incorporate into your yoga regimen, okay? Kemetic Yoga. So we put an emphasis. Now, all yoga, you can learn about tongue connection in many forms of yoga. Some people emphasize tongue connection, other people do not emphasize tongue connection. But within our system, within the way that we think, the way that we operate, we emphasize tongue connection, okay? And so that's what the difference is going to be, that we put an extremely strong emphasis on things like tongue connection. We put an extremely strong emphasis on things like directing energy and creating energy flow, moving energy through the body, okay? Creating a circuit through which energy can flow and circulate, and using energy with intention to heal the body. Everybody talks about energy, everybody talks about prana, everybody talks about chi, but it is how you actually implement the use of prana, the use of life force, the use of chi, that makes the difference, okay? It's your operating system. Everybody has these ideas, but it's your operating system that you want to incorporate and understand how these things work, okay? So, let me take a drink of water here. This is another thing. We got to hydrate ourselves. That's one of the most basic fundamental things. How much water should a person drink in a day? You should drink, in general, half your body weight in ounces of water. So if you weigh 200 pounds, you should drink 100 ounces of water, okay? Half your body weight in ounces of water. Staying hydrated is important. It's essential, okay? So today I want to share with you some more practices related to breath control, okay? And so breath control is essential in your practice of yoga. Breath control is essential in your evolutionary process as a human being. Once you get on the path of spirituality, improved health and well-being, higher consciousness, okay, then you are called upon to engage in internal practices such as the proper ways of breathing, okay, the proper ways of breathing, and breathing in such a manner that you are scientifically able to cause the circulation of your life force. Okay, so when we do our teacher training, when we train people to become Kemetic Yoga instructors in our courses, when we teach our regular yoga classes, we put a lot of emphasis on controlling the breath and causing circulation of energy, okay? So I'm gonna always emphasize this point because it's fundamental to the practice of Kemetic Yoga, okay? So yesterday we started off with alternate nostril breathing. And so alternate nostril breathing is where we are moving the energy. We're taking the breath into the left nostril, releasing it to the right nostril, we inhale it to the right nostril, and we exhale it out to the left nostril. This is alternate nostril breathing. Now, what I want you to understand is a little bit of the science behind alternate nostril breathing, okay? So, when you go to the doctor's office, the doctor has a symbol on the wall. The name of that symbol is the medical caduceus. That's what they call it, okay? But this is actually an ancient symbol that has its origins in Kemet, okay, in ancient Egypt. So, but what you see on the doctor's wall, you see a staff, okay? Sometimes they call it the staff of Asclepius, okay? And this is all the Roman and Greek stuff that they try to disguise our stuff with, right? And on this, so that you see a staff and you see the two snakes. Everybody's seen this before. It's all over the place. You see the staff, you see the two snakes going up the staff, and then you see the wings at the top of the staff, okay? And you see two snakes, and towards the top of the staff, you see that the two snakes are facing each other, okay? Those two snakes, they represent two different aspects of reality, okay? But within the energy body, they represent the two aspects of energy. Just like when you turn the light on, when you click that switch, when you hear that little clicking sound, what is that clicking sound? What is that indicating? That the positive charge of electricity has now mated with the negative charge of electricity. And so when those two pieces of metal click, when you click the light, that creates a circuit. And so that positive charge mates with the negative charge, and then you get a current of energy, electricity, that flows through the wire and powers whatever that circuit is connected to. And so you might turn on your refrigerator, you may turn on your lights, you may, whatever it's supposed to do, that's what it does. And it does it in a very precise manner. When you turn on the light, you don't see things blowing up and smoking and stuff like that. Electrical devices, they work for years and years and years. They don't just break down and deteriorate for no reason. Okay? That's why electrical devices, they have a little tag on it, and it says UL, and I think it means United Laboratories or something like that. Because that means that electrical devices have to pass certain standards to make sure that they're safe. That's why people don't get shocked all over the place. That's why electrical devices don't just cause fires easily, because there are certain standards. So with Kemetic Yoga, we have a standard. And so our standard is the proper way of doing tongue connection and to move energy for the highest purpose, for the best results, okay? So the left nostril is one of those serpents. The right nostril is one of those serpents, but it's not the nostril, it's the energy channel that moves through the body that are connected to the left and the right nostril, okay? The snakes also represent the two aspects of the central nervous system. One aspect is called the sympathetic, and the other aspect is called the parasympathetic. Now, these are the two parts of your autonomic nervous system, the part of your nervous system that operates on an involuntary or an automatic level. If I want to move my arm, move my hand, wave my fingers, if I want to stand up, sit down, open my eyes, eat, whatever it is that I'm doing, I do these things, these functions on a voluntary basis, okay? The autonomic nervous system operates on an involuntary basis. The autonomic nervous system operates automatically by itself. So the autonomic nervous system had those two divisions, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. The sympathetic part of your autonomic nervous system is activated in states of stress, okay? So if you're driving your car and somebody is about to hit you, or you see, oh, this person's about to hit me, I got to swerve out the way, okay? Then you feel this energy in your body that we call stress. We feel this collection, we experience this collection of physiological reactions within the body, and we call that stress, okay? So stress is related to fear, okay? Because we are afraid that our physical health, our physical well-being is going to be damaged because we're going to get into this accident. We are scared that even if we're not scared, we're not consciously scared of the physical body, but we're afraid that our car, our automobile is going to get damaged, okay? But it could be any type of situation. There are many, many types of situations that create fear. And that fear is governed by the part of the autonomic nervous system called the sympathetic. And the sympathetic part of your autonomic nervous system, if you were to look at an anatomical chart of the central nervous system, you will see that your organs have sympathetic nerve endings and connections that connect along the path of the spine and to this sympathetic network of nerves that connect back to the central nervous system, connect back to the brain. Okay? But you will also find that there's another part of the autonomic nervous system called the parasympathetic. The parasympathetic carries out the opposite function. And so the sympathetic is connected to one nostril when we breathe, when we work energy, and the parasympathetic is related to the opposite nostril. Okay? So the parasympathetic is your relaxation response. The parasympathetic part of your autonomic nervous system is related to that part of your nervous system that causes calmness, relaxation, stimulation of the immune system, slowing down your thought process, bringing relaxation, lowering your heart rate, lowering your blood pressure, and all of these other aspects of healing, okay, that are connected to that parasympathetic function, okay? So stress response. You need the stress response because if somebody attacks you, you're not going to say, you're not going to start, let me do my alternate nostril breathing while this person hit me upside the head. You're not going to do that. You're going to automatically, hopefully, you're going to automatically defend yourself. Pull something, do something, hit, fight, kick, run fast so they can't catch you. You're going to do something that's appropriate for that situation. You're not going to turn the other cheek and let them beat you on both your cheeks. Okay? That is not a natural thing to do. So you're going to fight, you're going to run, you're going to defend yourself. So that self-defense is governed by the sympathetic part of your autonomic nervous system. But when that danger is over, you want to return to a point which is called homeostasis. That's a point of calmness. That's a point of serenity. That's a point of balance between your central nervous system, all the other systems of your body, your brain, your mind, everything. You want to become in this state of homeostasis. That's what we are always seeking, this state of balance. Homeostasis. Stasis means steadiness, okay? Stillness. So you want to maintain that balance between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. So therefore, we work the breath. We do alternate nostril breathing in order to cause those two snakes to meet up and be balanced with each other. That's why the doctors use that snake, use that symbol to represent what they do. Because when you are healed, the word heal comes from the word whole. And the word whole or healed is related to the concept of being balanced. Okay? So those two aspects of our being, those two aspects of the central nervous system, those two aspects of energy are balanced with each other. Okay? And so we are seeking balance. So what is that? So in the Kemetic term, we're going to use is Ma'at. M-A-A-T. Ma'at means that there's an order. It means that there is a harmony. It means that there is a balance that we are always seeking. The body is always seeking to have this state of equilibrium, this state of homeostasis, this state of balance, this state of harmony between all the different diverse aspects of the body. That is what we call Ma'at. M-A-A-T. Ma'at. Ma'at is the governing principle of ancient Kemet. And so it's, to me, Ma'at is the governing principle of all of Africa. Okay? Africa has a unified philosophy. Africa has a unified underlying concept that unites all African culture and all African systems of spirituality. Okay? And so the word Ma'at may have its origins in ancient Kemet, but the concept of Ma'at, the concept that the nature of reality should be one and is one that is based upon an understanding of the natural order of the universe, and that this natural order is a reflection of balance, it's a reflection of harmony, okay? That this is a principle that we find throughout all of Africa, throughout all African cultures, and throughout all African systems of spirituality. And also indigenous, other indigenous systems, whatever word that you want to use, wherever you are on the spectrum of all these different things, you know, however you define yourself, you know, we see that there's a similarity. There is a unifying principle as we move across all these various cultures and spiritual systems around the earth, around the globe. Okay, and so again, we bring this back to the physical body, and we bring it back to the control over the breath, the internal movement of energy, the left nostril and the right nostril. And so it is this philosophical and spiritual scientific understanding that guides us to engage in the practice of alternate nostril breathing. It is that philosophical and spiritual science understanding that guides us in our practice of Kemetic Yoga. So it's not just nilly-willy. It is based upon a principle that is related back to the actuality of how everything works within the entirety of the universe and within our physical bodies, within our spirit bodies, within our bioenergetic bodies, within our minds, within our consciousness. All of these principles, all of these ideas, all of these concepts are operating on all the different levels of our existence. Okay? We should be nothing more than a reflection of the universe. When we observe the universe, we see that the planets don't crash into each other. We see that there's an order in the way that the sun is in the center of our solar system, and how the different planets rotate or orbit around the sun, and how the different planets, including the planet that we are on right now, are rotating on their axis. They're turning. So they're turning on the axis, making circular motions that on the earth we break down into the concept of 24 hours in a day, but they also orbiting on their orbit around the sun, which on the earth we break down into this idea of 365 or 364.4 days or something like that, right? And so we are seeing this orbit, we're seeing this order, we're seeing this pattern repeating itself all the time. And so we say that this is Ma'at. This is the natural order of the universe. Even when we look at the far corners of the solar system, when we look at the far corners of the galaxy, at the far distances, we can see that there are certain celestial things that occur consistently. These things occur consistently, okay? And sometimes it may take thousands of years for this particular celestial object to go make its circuit and then return. And so because we are the oldest people of the planet Earth, and we have been looking up at the skies And observing these different celestial occurrences, we know, and we know that these things occur, and we have recorded these things into our culture, okay, and into our spiritual science, okay. And so we have both astrology, we have both astronomy, which is the observation and the tracking and the understanding the nature of the phenomenon of the universe that surrounds us. And we also have an understanding of what we call astrology, which some people may dispute astrology and so on and so forth. But this is where it comes from. It is something that comes from ancient Africa. I have my astrological chart from Kemet, which comes from the temple of Dendera on my wall over there, okay? And so even though there's a lot of things about modern astrology which is distorted, but we know that our ancestors had their own form of astrology, okay, as well as astronomy. You cannot have accurate astrology unless you have accurate astronomy, okay? And you cannot base your astronomy or your astrology on superstition. It has to be based upon actual things that occur. And so this is part of our ma'at. This is part of our seeking out to become part, to be in harmony, to be in balance, to be in coordination with the motions and with the mechanisms and machinations that take place within the universe, okay? So this is what we are seeking to do. And so that's why we do alternate nostril breathing. This is why we do meditation, because we want to harmonize ourselves with the universe. We want to harmonize ourselves with the forces of the universe, okay? And so this is guiding our practice, okay? So this principle of ma'at. Ma'at is the guiding principle of everything that we do, including the way that we treat our bodies and the way we engage in our practice of meditation, our practice of controlled deep breathing, our practice of yoga movements and postures, okay? So when I come to talk to you, when I come to teach this class, sometimes we may do a lot of movements and postures and things like that, but sometimes we may just have to talk, because yoga, the teaching of yoga, is not just, oh, stand on your head and do this position and put your leg behind your head and stretch and do a triangle pose, and so on and so forth, right? Sometimes the practice of yoga and the practice of Kemetic Yoga in particular involves discussion. It involves talking. It involves breaking down knowledge, philosophy, science, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm not going into detail. If you want to get deeper and deeper into the details of the things I'm talking about, come and take one of our courses. Come and study to become a Kemetic Yoga teacher. And you don't have to become an actual teacher, but when you take our teacher training course, you're going to learn information that will enhance your own self-development, help to give you insight into who you are, why you are here, what you should be doing while you are here. That's one of the greatest benefits of taking a Kemetic Yoga teacher training course, especially an immersive course where you may go to Jamaica and spend 10 days in Jamaica and be immersed in this practice for that amount of time, okay? But also in our online course, which is self-taught, self-paced, and you are using the tools that we have in terms of videos, in terms of audio, in terms of ebooks, and so on and so forth, to learn the practice and to train and teach yourself in conjunction with taking the classes that I take. I offer this class for free. I offer this information for free because it is part of my community service, right? But also, you can sign up on our website to take classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays, okay, from 6 p.m. Central Time until 7:30 p.m. Central Time. And these classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays are offered as part in conjunction to any of the other courses that we teach, whether you're doing an online course, whether you're doing the trip to Jamaica. We do the trip to Jamaica twice a year, in July and also in January. Okay, I'm about to go next week, okay, to Jamaica. So hopefully I will be producing these sessions from the island of Jamaica in a very beautiful place, and you will see what I'm talking about, okay? If you're going on one of our trips, one of our tours to Kemet that we do every November, you will be having access to these Tuesday and Thursday courses. Another thing that we're going to introduce to the world is that we're going to have a Kemetic Yoga online or virtual studio. So we're going to have a yoga studio, but not physical. It is going to be manned, or not manned, but it's going to be peopled with different instructors who are going to be teaching a full schedule of Kemetic Yoga classes that can be available to you based upon your own schedule. Okay, so we're making all these things possible, all these things available to you. So I invite you to check out our website, KemeticYogaSkills.com, or you can click on the Linktree link, which is in my information on TikTok, or if you're on Instagram or our website, not our website, or on Facebook, you can see the Linktree link that'll give you all the things that we have to offer. And also, what's the last thing I'm trying to think of? Come to our website, KemeticYogaSkills.com. And if you go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/yogaskills, become a member or subscriber to the YouTube channel, watch the videos, click like, and so on and so forth, to help us to build our community and to get more interaction with the powers that be that control these algorithms and stuff, you know. So I want to thank you very much for listening to me, allow me to share this information with you. The next time we come together, we will get into more practices. But when I teach, I'm teaching from my heart, I'm teaching from my spirit. And so the things that I'm moved to say, when I am moved to spend time on, is coming from a particular place. And so oftentimes when you operate like that, instead of having a set plan, you're going to say this and say that, oftentimes you are moved to say things and to teach in ways that you're teaching because of the fact that the energy that you're receiving from people, there are people that need to hear what's being said, okay? And they need to hear this more than they need to do some other things, okay? And so we're going to study, as you keep coming back, we're going to get deeper into alternate nostril breathing. We're going to get deeper into meditation. We're going to get deeper into energy. We're going to get deeper into nutrition and how to eat, how to cleanse, how to fast. But none of this is, some of this is information that you can get on your own. You can go on our website. You can go on our YouTube channel, rather, and you can see lots of lectures that I've done where you can gain a lot of this information, okay? You can see lots of classes about how to do movements and postures and so on and so forth. So that's youtube.com/yogaskills. And I hate to put my face up here and try to press this button I'm gonna try to do it without looking like an old man who don't know what he's doing, like people been teasing me about. But Hotep Ankh Ujasanel.